One of the biggest hurdles for many of us when wanting to start our own podcast is the technical. The gear, the sound, the setup, the audio proofing, the recording a session, all those wires and software, and what the heck is a DAW? It sounds kind of overwhelming, but this week's guest, Scott Slaughter, who I had an amazing and more in-depth interview with in the previous episode, so make sure to listen to that one too, breaks it down for us in this episode practically. His checklist is all about what you'll need to know when starting this process, and even more importantly, when to ask for help. And we've even included our very own sound consultant who agreed to let me share his info if you need help getting started. So make sure to check the show notes for the links to reach out. His name is Daniel Tureck, and he is amazing and is also one of my Avant House Media team members and works on many of our shows weekly. So I know for a fact that if you want to make this happen, listening to this episode and calling Daniel will get you started. So I like to give checklists or step-by-step processes to our listener.
Yes, you do.
Can you share? Yes, I do. Can you share your checklist for building your own home studio?
Cool. Yeah, I can share with you kind of how I thought the process through, and I think the elements that are involved. I think one of the first things you have to think about is what type of interviews you're going to be doing. You know, I think remote interviews require different aspects than in-person interviews. So. And you want to look at your sound quality. And one of the ways I think I decided on sound quality was listening to a lot of different podcasts and deciding what was important to me. And I realized early on that for me personally, sometimes the content didn't matter. If it sounded really good, I stayed engaged, you know. And I think we talked about in the interview yesterday that, you know, jumping in with a level of sound quality and learning how to fill it with content was productive for us. And matching those two down the road instead of waiting to get it right. So sound quality, whether you want to use a natural sound treatment for your studio, what type of space you have. Some people have an office that they can use. I see you're in your bedroom, which I've seen a lot of podcasters do. And natural sound treatments are like cloth drapes. You can hang cloth on doors. You can hang pictures, things that basically absorb sound and keep sound from refracting off the walls. One of the things I personally despise is hearing the air conditioner in the background of an interview.
Yes.
So being able, like right now, I'm probably 10 degrees warmer than I should be because my air conditioner's off. The washer and dryer are off in the other room. And I still have the room treated. We used a sound consultant. We talked a little bit about what that is. We used a person that helped take a look at the type of room I wanted to treat and then tell me how to do it in a way that was affordable. And then you got to look at gear. So I see you and I actually have the same exact earphones.
We do. And I'm trying to remember if I told you about them or if you just found these on your own. Because I just don't remember.
I didn't find anything on my own. Somebody told me everything to buy.
Okay. Or maybe Daniel just loves these as well, because my brother's actually a sound engineer and he bought these for me. And so maybe it's just a fan favorite among sound engineers.
I think they're a little softer than the average. They're a little bit more. They were like 130, but the ones we use in the studio are about $100.
Should we tell people what these are, because they're not looking at us?
Yeah. So I'll read it. I'm going to take them off and read it. These are DT770 Pros, and I think I use a company called Sweetwater. I buy all my equipment from, and I have a tech there that I call when I need stuff. And he helps me match equipment so I can buy the right cords for the right mics that go into the right speakers, that go into the right clouds. And none of this I knew before I started. All of this I learned along the way. And I actually probably couldn't walk you through a purchase, but I could tell you.
But you can walk people through the process of how to get to
I can tell you the elements that are important. So, I think you'll agree a powerful computer, whether it's a desktop or a laptop, something that can process information quickly. Mics are a personal choice, but you and I have talked about Shure mics. This is what we used in the studios, and I found that ability for it to compress sound and not have to have bafflers and not to over-treat my room gave us a sound quality that we really felt good to us. And then booms and or mic stands. So where you're going to be sitting, how you're going to be sitting, if you're going to be at a desk, if you're going to be sitting in a chair or on a sofa, that all determines on what type of device you need to hold your mic. What else do we need? Headphones. Obviously, you and I were talking about headphones. So we like to hear the sound. I like to do interviews with headphones. I don't know how people don't do it with headphones personally, but an interface is a really important piece. So the interface is something that takes all of the sound and compresses it to a readable source for your computer, right? Is that an accurate definition?
I like it. Yeah.
It works, yeah. And they range in price. We actually ended up putting a inexpensive, I think they're called Shure Lights. We put an inexpensive one on Laura's computer upstairs because she does a lot of remote interviews. We actually take one of our Shure mics from the studio and put it up there, so I move it back and forth depending on its use. And then we have like a Universal Audio Apollo, which is the one that Daniel put us on. And the important thing that...
What is that?
This is that interface is a 4-channel interface, so I can hook up 4 mics to this interface. And one of the things I was going to say is important is understanding if we're going to have 3 or 4 guests and I only have an interface that has 2 mics, I'm not going to be able to record that third guest. So Laura and I looked down the road a little bit and thought we might have 4 guests at some point, and it might be important for us to have an interface that'll host 4 mics. So I think the most we've had at this point is 3, but I do envision having a larger studio down the road, and I would like to take this device with me. Daniel assured me it would outlive me. He said this interface,
wow.
yeah. And you and I talked a little bit in the show about one of the mentalities that you take into purchasing equipment can be the idea that a lot of this upper end equipment resales really well. So if I go on eBay right now, I can probably find a handful of these Apollo interfaces for sale that are used. And if you're looking for a first-time purchase, you too can also find that. We chose to go brand new, personally.
That's a great point, though, for budget. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I threw in a couple of external speakers because I like to listen back to the sound, and I also listen to music when I'm at my computer. So
nice.
It was kind of an excuse. And then I like lighting around my computer, and I like to have a little ambiance around my setting personally because it's just the way I am.
How does that help you, the ambiance? What do you like about it? Is it it's for you, for the guests?
It makes me feel creative, and I think it makes the guests, like I'll burn a candle when the guest comes, and I'll turn down the lights so that they feel, you and I talked a little bit about creating a feeling through audio, and I think that that's only done, I think our best interviews are done in person when we can look the person in the eye, and all of those external factors, I think, are also felt through the audio. And if you have a great post person like Barcy, she can really pick up on those nuances, those little things that are going to evoke emotion or make a point a little bit bigger, or just really help tell the story through sound. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. But I think that's something to think about. And people just want to get on a mic and start talking, but there's a lot more that goes into creating a well-told story with sound.
I really appreciate you mentioning that, actually, the ambiance that you provide, and if you're not in a studio, there's ways to create an energy virtually as well, right? Mm-hmm. Through how you start or how you welcome your guest, or, just ways to create an environment for everyone to feel open, or whatever they need to feel, energized, whatever your show is about. But I'm always appreciative of that if I'm ever a guest, when I can sense that they care about my being there in a way that kind of caters hospitality-wise to the experience. I agree. I think we've had a number of guests tell us, we've interviewed a lot of people who've been interviewed a lot, and one of the things that comes back to us always is how safe they feel. And I think that's what you want. When you want somebody to tell a story they haven't told, or even tell a story they have told but in a different way, creating a space where they feel like you're professional, that you're safe, and that you're going to take care of their story is the most important thing you can do. I agree. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes. It's been wonderful, again, to be a part of your crew. Thank you, Scott. This was great. Thanks, Barcy. Thank you for listening to Be Bold Begin. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so as not to miss an episode. So the best way to ensure you get all the new episodes is by subscribing. Help us build a positive community by joining the Facebook group, also called Be Bold Begin. I'll be checking it daily to answer and acknowledge any of your questions and comments. Stay positive and safe out there.